This is an extract from the Leader Coronavirus Daily podcast by the Evening Standard and hosted by me, David Marsland. To hear the whole thing, search for it on your podcast provider.
We have, in a bad sense, literally turned a corner. So we should see this as a 6-month problem that we have to deal with collectively.
England's Chief Medical Officer Chris Whitty warns that as Britain heads into winter, there's a fine balance to strike between a healthy population and a healthy economy, as he and Sir Patrick Vallance lay the ground for tough new coronavirus controls. Our editorial column says policymakers need to go back to the drawing board.
6 months ago, lockdown began. We knew the rules, we helped each other out. Today, the country is in a different place, but not the happy post-COVID one we had hoped for. Britain now faces a critical moment in the fight. We accept that new restrictions on our liberties will be needed, but they cannot be a copy of the ones we endured before. The government must learn from its mistakes. If we are to accept restrictions, and we should, then leaders have to be trusted. Getting through this winter will take consistency and clear communication. New restrictions must be flexible and targeted.
The Standard's Julian Glover joins me now. Julian, this time round we're armed with a lot more knowledge about COVID-19 and how to social distance in pubs or in shops in our workplaces. But is there still a threat of another total lockdown?
It's not something the government wants. It's not something the government says is going to happen. But if you look at the warning today from the scientists about what might be taking place with infection rates, there's a big risk of one coming.
What lessons can be learned from last time round?
We agree that there's going to have to be some more restrictions, but we want there to be limits on those. Not another full lockdown, not the closure of schools. We need some leadership, proper, clear leadership, not hesitant, not avoiding the issue, not promising big left-field ideas, moonshots are going to change the world, but open honesty about the difficulties and about the aim of what's going on. We call for Parliament to be involved. We don't think that you can shut society down by diktat for too long. Perhaps we shouldn't have done it at all. Parliament voted through emergency powers to the government, but it's not involved now, and it should be. So we'd like some democratic scrutiny of what's going on. We need promises that these rules will not go on forever.
And what about an effective test and trace programme?
We need a testing system that works. Everybody says that. It's hard to do because demand for tests is massive. Other countries in Europe, like France, are finding testing tough too. But we need people to know if they're infected, and if they're infected, what they should do about it. We'd like ministers to stop blaming the public. It's all very well saying young people aren't following the rules or parents aren't understanding what children at school should do if they fall ill. But the rules are almost impossible to understand. People mostly are trying to do their best. It's not long since they were told to eat out to help out, and now they're being blamed for socialising. So a bit less blame and a bit more action from the government would be good.
Among all of this, the government is also dealing with the prospect of a no-deal Brexit. How is that impacting how the government deals with the virus?
On top of all of the challenges of coronavirus, of a second wave, of the economic damage that's causing around the world, does Britain really need to be devoting its time to a no-deal Brexit? Because that's what is eating up a lot of energy at the top of government, the possibility they can't reach a deal with the EU. Well, this government backed Brexit. This government said there was an oven-ready deal. I don't think it'll be forgiven if it says now it can't reach a deal and adds all of the dislocation of that at the height of the winter on top of all of the challenges of coronavirus.
Search for the Leader Coronavirus Daily on any podcast provider to hear more from the podcast.